So Apple just released a new iPod Touch. What the f? So I can't say exactly that I didn't call this happening literally yesterday, making a video saying that it's a wild card that this could come out at Worldwide Developers Conference. I didn't call that it would come out literally today, but I did say that there was still a chance out there, it was still a possibility that Apple would update the iPod. But what I did mention is that if they are updating the iPod, there will not be any design changes. Nothing about the iPod will change except for the CPU. They would literally swap it out for an A10 chip. Guess what? That's exactly what happened. So the iPod Touch has an A10 chip now, still starting at a $199, which for the processing power the A10 chip has, I think that's pretty reasonable. It's just in a very outdated product. Very thin, but no biometrics, not even a 720p display. There were no changes to the camera at all, but they're bragging about software features that I guess the iPod Touch didn't have originally. So now I guess you have group FaceTime for all the people who were on their iPod Touch, their little 4-inch devices, and were hoping that they could talk to 32 people at once. I guess you couldn't do that, which I didn't even know, but now you can, thanks to the A10 chip. You also have more augmented reality features, which I'm sure a ton of you iPod Touch users out there were feeling left out on those AR games. And of course, the website is bragging about how big of a performance boost this is, because the last iPod Touch had an A8 chip, so 2 times faster performance, 3 times better graphics. Still, it's got the processing power of an iPhone 7, but to be fair, an iPhone 7 doesn't start at $199. It's also going to be compatible with Apple Arcade, which is being launched later this year, so to the $200 iPod spenders out there, you'll be able to also spend several dollars a month on a gaming subscription platform that will be compatible with your $200 device. Starting at 32 gigs, by the way, though they are allowing the storage options to go all the way up to 256 gigs now, which was not available before, but it cost $399. The cost of my chair, the cost of an iPad mini with an A12 chip. My God, I have to encourage you guys, if you want to spend $400 on a device that's not a phone and you're just looking for iOS and processing power, please don't buy the 256 gig iPod Touch, okay? Please just get an iPad mini that has an A12 chip. You'll be able to play Fortnite at 60 FPS, just like all of you kids will want to, but it's the most bizarre upgrade we could have possibly expected to happen today. I was definitely not expecting this, especially so soon now that they're doing so many hardware refreshes before the event actually begins, but this is as small as an upgrade as it gets. The interesting part of this, though, is this almost confirms that iOS 13 will be coming to the iPhone SE, because it proves Apple cares about making sure a 4-inch product, now that they've released an iOS device in 2019, halfway through, that still has a 4-inch display. That means with the A10 chip, the iPod Touch, as weird as it sounds saying this, will definitely get iOS 13. That means good news for you iPhone SE users, because if they're optimizing iOS 13 for the iPod Touch, that more than likely means they are definitely optimizing iOS 13 for the iPhone SE. So 4-inch devices are going to stay within the iOS 13 family this year. This basically confirms that, the fact that they're willing to put an A10 chip in here. And wow, this means that the iPod line is not going to die this year, just when I thought it might get discontinued next week. A10 chip means it's easily going to last a couple more years, potentially even longer. And I just have to wonder why, Apple. Why do you want to keep around such a dated device that has to somehow coexist with iPhone simultaneously? I reviewed the iPod Touch last year, and it was thin, it was very light, but we're just constantly wondering, like, why does this exist? And it's hilarious to me that here we are in May in 2019, and Apple's like, no, iPod's not done yet. We want to make sure that that gets the latest A10 chip, the same chip you'd find in the 2018 budget iPad. But to be fair, even though there's no Touch ID, no Face ID, no redesign, still white bezels, still the exact same colors that were available before, it is the cheapest iOS device, technically. So I guess it takes the cake in that department. An iOS device with a fairly comparable chip in a very, very light design for $199. I guess a lot of people might see this as worth it. If they don't care about biometrics, they don't need to put Apple Pay on here. I don't think that's even a thing. So why do they need a passcode? You know, what really do they need to protect? Maybe if you're looking for a pocketable product that has a decent CPU, definitely not the best. It's not A12 12 chip levels of good, but decent CPU that's probably going to be able to handle most games pretty good. Again, the same chip you'd expect from an iPhone 7 in a $200 body. Maybe there's a market out there for it, but I also think it's funny that we're midway through 2019 and Apple's okay with shipping home buttons, a headphone jack, and a product that probably still ships with headphone jack earpods. Like, I felt like any day now the iPod Touch was going to get discontinued. Just the old checkout store was so dated. It was so user interface, like, not up with the rest of the site. And now they decide before Worldwide Developers Conference 2019, yep, it's time, I think it's time for us to update the iPod Touch. So anyways, that's the upgrade you needed to know about today. I think I'm more excited for the fact that iOS 13 is still going to be supporting 4-inch devices. Hopefully that means there might be an iPhone SE refresh. Given we're getting multiple hardware refreshes before the event takes place, maybe there will be another refresh before the event actually happens. I feel like there might be a pretty good chance of the iPhone SE getting a CPU boost before the event, given we've now had the MacBook refresh and the iPod refresh before this event takes place. Maybe there will be more. We still have 6 more days until the event officially happens. So maybe similar to the March event, they're kind of getting these minute hardware upgrades out of the way first, so they have more time to talk about iOS 13 on stage, which has me kind of interested. What else are they going to update in the next 6 days? We'll find out. Let me know what you guys think of the refreshed iPod Touch. Are you going to be getting one? Should I get one? Would you like me to review one? Kind of weird if you do, but let me know what you're thinking about it by tagging me over on Twitter or joining our Discord, where I try to stay fairly active. This is your Apple Sheep here. I will see you in the next one.